Hey everybody, welcome back to Spiders Sound Off. This is Tom.
And this is Porter.
We are doing episode 5, and we've got a few different topics we're going to focus on today. We'll do some updates, some of what's gone on in the last couple weeks in Spider World. We'll talk about Porter's trip to Canada and do a little Spider basketball Canada version. And we're going to end with a little debate on who's the best point guard in Spider history.
It's going to be fun. But first, Tom, before we start, I need to talk to you about the bonus episode that was released earlier this week.
I'm sure you got some great feedback for me. Let's hear it.
I do have some feedback for you. So from many different sources, here are a couple of the highlights. Disappointing, self-indulged, and not consistent with the trust you are building with your fans.
That's nice. So let me make a point here. This was a bonus episode. So we only got 20 minutes out in episode 4, and I gave 5, if you include the song, 7 minutes of bonus material. I put the time and energy into creating bonus material. You don't have to listen to bonus material. If it ever comes out again, maybe you those that think I did something awful can ignore it.
And now I need to say that feedback all came from your mom, Tom.
Yes, yeah, right. But again, we're going from episode 4 to now episode 5.
We're back on basketball, folks.
That bonus was just special. And if you haven't heard the bonus yet, you're missing out. It could be one of the greatest stories ever told.
It is a story that resonates with you, myself, and the aforementioned D. Hall.
Yes. So let's talk about what's going on in the Spider-Verse. Yes. We have some news on the Spider Forum.
Yeah, SpiderNation.com is back up. A couple of really good technical alumni have recreated the Spider Nation message board. So the Reddit board, which was a nice place to go while we were without a board, I think has been consolidated into this new board called spidernation.community.forum. That's the URL, spidernation.community.forum. And so for your really deep fans, the folks that really go deep in the program, you now have a place to go talk about all things Spider sports.
And if I remember correctly, it went to Reddit, and that was what you called the Splinter Group. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was a misspeak on my misspeak on my part. It was not a Splinter Group. It was just a place to go in the meantime until we figured out what the message board strategy was.
What's great about the new board is that a Spider alum volunteer basically put all the work into creating a board. Looks just like the old one. There's a women's basketball section.
Yeah, they break out the men's basketball board from the women's basketball board, from the football, and then they have lacrosse, baseball, and other sports. And it's really well done. I mean, it almost feels like exactly like the board that we lost when Rivals got acquired. So it's really good. I mean, there's a lot of threads. I mean, you'll get a lot of information out there, because the people who follow the program the closest are out there all the time posting. So it's always just a great place to go and dialogue about all things Spider sports.
And everything is always positive on the message board, right, Porter?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say that is depending on the person who's reading it. I would say, sometimes, your most passionate fans, the people that are that care the most about the program, will express their opinions. So you'll get some strong opinions about all things Spider sports out there. But the key is it's a great place for community to be built. It's anytime you're building community around the program that we all care about, that's helpful. And so, yeah, I'd say go out there, spend some time, join the board, voice your opinion, make sure it's heard. It is a great place to just gather as a fan and talk all things Spider sports.
So moving on to another topic, we talked in a prior episode about season tickets and what would change with pricing potentially with the need for kind of some more fundraising to help pay our players. I know there's been some updates, right, Porter?
Yeah, so I got my season ticket invoice for the ladies program. Really good value for this. So my 2 tickets, my invoice is for 2 tickets for $120. I called the ticket office and asked them, just because I told them I was going to podcast about this, What I was told is the range is between $50 and $70, depending on what category you fall into per season ticket. Now, to do the quick math, guys and gals, there are probably between 15 and 20 home games. So you're talking about, let's say there's 17, 18 games. You're talking about $3 a game to have a season ticket to one of the best teams in the country. So its value, whether it's $70 or $50, is unmistakable. It's a screaming value on how to use your time. You don't pay for parking. It's just awesome.
Now it's general admission, right? All the tickets are?
Yeah. So my tickets have a row and seat number. I called and asked that too. They said, no, you can sit anywhere. The other cool thing that they told me was you can actually request to sit on the floor. It used to be, I think you could sit on the floor if you had general admission tickets. Now they see that as an additional value they're adding. So you can talk to the ticket office if you want to sit on the floor. You can't get any more immersive in your college basketball experience than that. You can do that. You have to just pay a little bit extra, but I mean, we're talking pennies on the dollar compared to what that's worth. So if you have ever dreamed about sitting on the floor, you could actually do that for a top 25 team in America by just calling up the ticket office right now and asking for a floor seat. See what you get.
And on the men's side, I know where you do have to pay for parking. That parking pass went from $175 to $200. And there was also an increase, at least for my season tickets, where we sit about a 12% increase in tickets, but it is less per game because we're going up from 15 to 18 home games.
More games equals more value. So it sounds like they tried to keep the prices really the same, which is great, right?
Yep. And pricing has gone up in the past too. So I think when you're seeing a 12% increase in pricing, like that's hard to put that on anything that's changed in college basketball financially.
Yeah.
Things cost more and prices have gone up before when it comes to pricing.
Right. I mean, you figure, the cost of the program, especially on the ladies' side, had to go up pretty substantially to keep the players that we have, as well as retain our awesome coach, our awesome coaching staff on the women's side. So the fact that Richmond did such a wonderful job of not jacking up the prices super high, I think that's actually good.
And in other news, sticking on the women's side, you may have seen Rachel Ulstrom in the news. She got selected
to a 3-on-3 tournament.
3-on-3 representing the USA in the FIBA tournament. First, even the selection was great because that meant that she was going to be practicing and playing with kind of super talented women like herself. They were declared champions. I'll admit I tried to understand more about 3-on-3, and it's hard. There's stop 2, stop 4, stop 6. I'm not sure what all that means, but in the long run, the USA women's team won. They were declared champions, and from my understanding, by doing that, they've moved on to the kind of final round, which is at the end of September. I think the 17th to the 30th is the entire window, and it's in China. So
wow.
I do not know what that means. Is it the same roster, or kind of how does that work? I mean, these are all, I think on the women's side, they were all college players. Maybe there was one graduate. But anyway, some more news to come. It's exciting that she's got to play with elite talent and travel and, add that to kind of what she was able to accomplish this summer.
We haven't talked a lot about Ulstrom yet in our previous 4 episodes. But what I'll tell the folks who may not be as familiar with the ladies program, Rachel Ulstrom is one of, if not the best, 3-point shooter in the history of Richmond college basketball, men or women's. She, last year in a game against Oakland, hit 11 3-pointers. That's out of I think a total of 14 shots. She did that to set the school record in a game we won handily. But if you give Rachel any space behind a 3-point line, she's going to make you pay. And so to have a chance to watch her one more season play with Maggie, they play a great 2-person game where there's a lot of give and go, a lot of pick and roll. They just seem to anticipate where each other are going to be. And you add an Allie Sweeney, who's an up and coming star for Richmond basketball. It's going to be great. It's going to be a special year. We're going to do a women's episode for you here in the not too distant future to talk about the roster on that side. But you got to get out and see Rachel while she's still here. We got one more year of her. We got Maggie for one more year. It's just that good. So you got to go out and see it.
And last bit of news we'll cover here gets into the financial side. As we talked about a couple episodes, there's a lot of noise as to what's going on. We know there was the settlement, the NCAA settlement with former players that led to universities being able to pay their players. Since that episode, just recently, actually, there was a Trump executive order that was tied to college sports. I think it was someone from The Athletic said that could have been written by the NCAA. So there wasn't really anything new in that. It was more an attempt to codify what the settlement was intended to do. There's also been some clarification on what the collectives can do. First, it came out that they weren't allowed to pay players. They could only help coordinate pay for players from for-profit companies. That's changed. They are allowed to pay. That just came out a couple days ago. So for name, image, and likeness, the collectives are still around. Again, it still has to be for-profit businesses. It's going to have to be fair market value. So those are all things that came out of the settlement. So a lot of noise, but in the long run, so far everything we said in episode 2 is still holding true. There will be more noise, so this topic is far from over.
The excellent episode 2, for sure.
So, Porter, you just were in Canada. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your trip, kind of what you loved, things you learned, and then we can talk about some of our prior Spider players and maybe some current Spider players from Canada.
Despite, misperceptions, I'm not actually actively recruiting for the university, as this is a fan-based podcast. But that doesn't mean that I, didn't appreciate, and I don't appreciate the wonderful heritage of players that Richmond has yielded from Canada. But a couple fun facts about Canada for the listener. Number one, it's the longest coastline in the world. Canada spans 3 different oceans, touches 3 different oceans. So it is a big, big country. They have more fresh water than any other country in the world, more lakes than any other country in the world. Most of the population lives close to the border with the United States. But probably the most impressive and important thing in relation to this podcast about Canada is we would not have the game of basketball without the country of Canada. And that is because James Naismith, the founder of basketball, was a Canadian physical education instructor born in Canada. So we owe basketball to the Canadians, at least one of them, and that makes it really relevant to what Tom and I are doing here today.
Yeah, that's right. Well, let's talk about our players that are from Canada. Some were recruited from U.S. schools, but they grew up in Canada, and some were recruited directly in Canada. We've decided to try to rank these players. I think we came up with 6 total players who grew up in Canada or played in Canada.
And if we end up being wrong about that, please let us know. Yeah, let us know. That's what we found.
And we're going to rank the top 3. So we got an honorable mention category where kind of this is in no particular order. And then we'll go through our top 3. And again, if we're missing somebody, we apologize. Give us that feedback. Also, if you've got a different ranking, we'd love to hear. But in terms of honorable mention, we'll start with current freshman we have, Dylan Hominick.
Yeah, from British Columbia. We talked a little bit about him in episode 3, what we saw, or was it episode 4? What we saw from him in practice. We're excited to see what the future holds for this young man. He could be a really good player.
And also in that honorable mention category, Matt Grace.
Matt is interesting because will go down in the lore of Spider basketball as hitting one of the biggest shots in our history. If you guys remember, it was 2022, the Atlantic 10 championship game against Davidson. We're down 2 points, 19 seconds left. Pass it in the Matt. He turns. Guy cuts him off. He kind of goes right through the guy, but the guy was still moving, so it was a foul. And the defender hits the layup, makes the and one shot, puts us up 1, gives Andre the Goose Gustafson a chance to make a really nice defensive play to close out the game. And the Spiders win the Atlantic 10 title and advance to the NCAA tournament.
Yep, and that was, I think his junior year. And then his senior year was the first year he was a starter. Grant had graduated, and he got his chance to be a starter for us. And then also honorable mention, I think the best name of all of our Canadian players is Francis Cedric Mattel.
Yeah, great role player for Richmond. FCM played, was kind of a glue guy. Played a lot of different, filled a lot of different needs on those teams between 2009, 2012. So Francis Cedric Martel. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the top 3. Number 3, we have the 2006 graduate, Jermaine Buckner.
Buckner, the first Canadian recruit that we could find. So he opened the pipeline for us. Actually recruited by John Beeline back in 2001, really had connections to all 3 coaches at the time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so he played for Wainwright for 3 years, and then his senior year was Mooney's first year. And we've talked about him already on this podcast. It's funny, we're on episode 5, and it's the second Buckner reference. But he was a great forward for us, and was average double digits his senior year at Richmond.
Yeah.
Number 2 is current Spider junior point guard Mikkel Tyne.
Yeah, I mean, Mikkel Tyne is a good player. I think when we talked about how to rank between Tyne and Buckner, you came up with the point that Tyne is only 2 years into his career, and he's had numbers-wise in those first 2 years to Buckner's first 2 years. So this is somewhat based on potential, what we think Tyne could be. I think we're excited to see what Tyne's going to bring this year.
And the number 1 player from Canada is 22 grad Nathan Kao.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, everybody remembers Nathan Kao, remembers how good he was. Probably statistically speaking, not a top 5 power forward for Richmond, but like if you saw him in certain games, you would say that was the best player on the floor. I'll give you a couple places where he really shined. Back in November of 2020, we played Kentucky on the road in Kentucky, and everybody thought, there's no way that Richmond's going to beat Kentucky on their home floor. But Nathan Kao, man, looked like the best big man in the game in that game. He scored 18 points against them. They could not stop him. We won the game pretty handily, 76-64. And I just remember saying, wow, if KO's this good, we're going to be really, really tough to beat this year. The other thing was the big game against Iowa in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the upset over Iowa, he was a big part of that, scored 15 points, most of that in the second half.
Yeah, hit a couple and ones in the final minutes to seal it for
and
us.
What's interesting, you look at KO's stats, I'm just kind of scanning them now, like, he was not a 3-point shooter. He didn't get to the foul line a lot. But his field goal percentage is insane. It's, over 50%. Didn't play much his freshman year. But those other 3 years, his field goal percentage is incredible. So when he went to the basket, he scored. Was a great Spider for us. And
I think he's playing professionally in Canada right now. So he's continued his basketball career. Just a great guy to watch. I mean, if you could have a power forward every year like KO playing for your team, I think you'd sign up and say yes to that right now.
A footnote too on Buckner, I forgot to mention, he's an assistant coach with the Charlotte Hornets. So like a lot of Spider players who didn't have NBA careers, they find themselves kind of in the NBA. He was a coach for the Celtics at some point too, an assistant. So
yeah, the other fun thing about Buckner. So when I was in Canada, we ended our trip in Calgary, and Calgary's pretty far north. I mean, it's significantly north of the border, and most of the places in Canada we're familiar with, like Ottawa and Toronto and things like that. But Buckner he grew up in Edmonton, and Edmonton's 2 hours north of Calgary. And so played for a small high school there in Edmonton. And I keep thinking to myself, what must the winters have been like when he was playing basketball in high school? That was really cold up there. So just a fun fact.
Yeah, hopefully there was a nice heated indoor gym.
Yeah, I'm sure you spent a lot of time in the gym because you didn't want to spend it outside.
Now let's go on and talk about who we would rank as the top point guard of all time.
This is a tough one, Tom. Really tough.
And how we define who's top or who's the greatest, we're going to look at and talk about their stats, kind of how did they perform in terms of assists, points, etc. We'll talk about awards, kind of where they got
external
recognized.
Yep.
Yeah, where'd they get that recognition from third parties.
You got to have postseason in here too.
And then, yes, that's right. And 3 is just how did the team do? So the team needs to do well, and that's got to include some sort of postseason success. So kind of that's how we looked at it. Porter, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Who do you believe is the best all-time point guard at the University of Richmond?
And to be fair, you're only giving me one that I can say is the best. I'm not allowed to give you a tie. So I looked at 11 different players, and I really dug deep. I mean, I went all the way back into the 1960s. Came up with some really deserving names. I mean, you got great guards like Greg Beckwith and Jacob Gilyard and Kenny Atkinson, all who were right there in my top 5. But the number one overall in the history, if I can only pick one, for me, it's Kevin Anderson. Kevin played for us from 2007 to 2011. Played point guard most of his time here. He was an incredible scorer, second all-time in points with 2,165 points. He won A10 Player of the Year in 2010, which is a really big thing. He won A10 Freshman of the Year in 2008. The Atlantic 10 Tournament MVP back in 2011. He was 2-time first team All Atlantic 10, 10 and 11. He was an AP honorable mention for All-American back in 2010. He led us to the postseason, Sweet 16 run, that magical run where we beat Vanderbilt and Morehead State.
And he had a big shot at the end of that game.
Yeah, in the about 19 seconds left in the Vanderbilt game, for sure. He was known to be a clutch performer. I mean, I think when we talked to Coach Mooney a couple weeks back, even Coach said, he's one of the most confident players he's ever had. He just was the kind of guy that wanted the ball in his hand when the game was on the line. Beyond scoring, though, he was in the top 5 for assists and steals at Richmond. Of course, his number has been retired. Number 14 hangs in the rafters. So that's a big honor to get. Just the combination of all those factors was why I nudged him out over Kenny Atkinson, Greg Beckwith, and Jacob Gilyard.
Yeah, it is a tough one. And it's hard to argue against Kevin Anderson. I'll tell you, as I did my own research, I picked someone that wasn't even in your top 5.
What? Shock. This is not, something's happening here.
Okay, so the best point guard that we've ever had at the University of Richmond is Pam Bryant.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Time out. You didn't tell me we were covering the ladies program.
This is best point guard conversation.
Okay.
So let me talk about Pam Bryant.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
She was at U of R from 86 through 90. So our freshman year, she was there. I'll be the first to admit I did not go to a women's game my freshman year. So I
didn't go to a lot of classes either.
No, that is not true. Remember, my parents might be listening. But anyway, so she was a 4-year player at U of R. To give you a little context, 2 years before she got there, our team went 8-20. And then the year before was when we hired a new coach, Stephanie Gately, and the team went 7-21 in her first year as coach. But she did recruit Pam Bryant. So this is how the team did the next 4 years. Freshman year, they went 13-15. Sophomore, 21-8. Then 24-9, and then 25-5.
Wow.
Now, of course, she's
Pretty
one
good.
player. Like, what was her part on that team? Well, her freshman year, she was CAA Rookie of the Year. Her sophomore year, she was second team All-CAA and All-Defensive Team. Her junior year, she was CAA Player of the Year and All-Defensive Team. Her senior year, she was CAA Player of the Year, All-Defensive Team, CAA Tournament Team, won the tournament MVP, and took the Spiders to their first NCAA game.
Wow.
In history. Points-wise, she scored 10 her freshman year, average per game. She scored 13 her sophomore, 17.5 as a junior, 17.3 as a senior. Again, 2-time CAA Player of the Year. She also had has her name and number in the rafters at U of R. And was also named to the CAA's 25th anniversary women's basketball team. So over the 25 years when they did that, I think in 2009, 2010, she was considered one of the top players ever in the CAA. So maybe it's a little bit of a curveball.
Yeah, definitely.
It was fun to research Pam because I never saw her play.
I mean, if you're going to go to the ladies, you got to talk about Belka Klanis. She had an incredible career at Richmond. There's just a lot of great point guards on both sides of the both teams, men's and women's.
And the one thing that's kind of just an interesting note on Pam Bryant is that she married Brian Jordan.
Great, one of the greatest college athletes of all time.
Yeah, and pro athletes too.
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, that's kind of a super couple at U of R. If you don't remember Brian Jordan, he played baseball at U of R. He played football at U of R. He
played
then
in the
played.
NFL
He played baseball primarily for the Cardinals and some for the Braves.
Yep.
And then played in the NFL for the Falcons, I think. Yeah. So.
And one of only like a handful of people to ever have done that. Played on a pro team in 2 different sports. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
The highest level pros.
Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, Brian Jordan, they were kind of all contemporaries.
Just to give you a few of the other names that I considered, just because I want people to know that we didn't forget about him. I mean, Ced Lindsey, loved him. probably on the top 5 for me if he doesn't get injured senior year. Kendall Anthony, great point guard for us. Johnny Moats back in the 1960s, drafted in the NBA, averaged 25 a game one year, definitely would be in the conversation. Chandre Jones, kind of think of him still as more of a number 2 than a number 1 guard, but definitely a top 10, at the point if we consider him there. Those are just a few of the names. Carlos Cueto, Scott Unger, just some great names out there, folks that played the point position for Richmond.
Well, we'd love to get your feedback. Did we miss somebody? Who would you put as number 1? How crazy am I to see Pam Bryant as the greatest point guard ever?
Then if they find you crazy, they can answer to Brian Jordan.
Anyway, we're running out of time, so I think we're going to wrap up here. Hope you enjoyed episode 5. Again, please give us feedback, follow, do all those things so you can get these in your inbox every Monday.
Absolutely.
This is Tom signing off.
See ya.